Hey, folks. Well, the Leafs lineup, it's a bit depleted of late. Still some wins. Hey, a Natty Hatty for Matty. Heck, back-to-back hat tricks, actually, when you think about it. We're going to break a whole lot of this down for you right here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone, your place for Leafs hockey.
Hey, folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach. We love you, KD. I'm the Diva. We're here to talk all things Leafs. I'm coming to you from the downtown T-Dot in the big smoke here, Toronto. Coach, where are you at?
Hey, Devo, I'm back in the international headquarters, London, England, back from Prague. And hey, I wear my Leaf swag everywhere. Got tracked down by this youngster, 10 years old. He plays hockey. His name's Tomas, just like
Nice.
Caberlet. Hey, Leaf Nation is everywhere, folks. We're everywhere.
That's crazy. It's so good to see fans everywhere. Listen, folks, hit subscribe, ring the bell. You'll never miss any content. Like, share the video. We need you to do that. Helps spread the word. Also, leave a comment. Geez, when you do, good things happen. Who knows? Maybe some shirts like this might end up on your front door. Look, it helps us get better. Listen, Coach, a lot to look at here in Leafland. We got a lot to talk about today. The Leafs have kind of had their a hand tied behind their back, maybe two, if you look at the last couple games. Still pulled off some wins. A pretty dominant performance against the Blues. A bit of a gut check win versus the Flyers. They gave up a lead. For Matthews had quite a second period there. What did you see, Coach?
Yeah, I did. The keen observers here in the subscriber base will know I did have that 4-1 win against St. Louis, but I didn't see this coming. That was we made that prediction, as we do, and as we say in the business, we had it in the can. Yeah. But so we didn't know we were going to be all those injuries. I think we had a good sense by then Riley was going to be out. Not injuries, illnesses. So, and I certainly didn't have Bobby McCann having a hat trick. But what I sure didn't have was that effort from St. Louis. The Leafs did a really good job of battening down the hatches. We're shorthanded. Let's not have anything in the middle. 15 shots, what an effort there. But St. Louis, you couldn't have seen that from them. They had won 7 out of 8 going into that game. Put up that just stinker. And then they go and they blow Edmonton out in the next game. So, hey, we'll take it. We'll take them on their off night. I'll tell you what, though. The game in Philadelphia was a different one, and it went more like you might predict. Mm-hmm. Leafs were outworked for sure, outchanced, and actually kind of outstructured by Philadelphia. You look at that roster, Devo, what, if 4 or 5 guys on that team maybe make the Leafs? Like, there's not a lot of talent, but are they ever well coached?
Yes.
Fortunately, skill versus will. Skill bailed the Leafs out this time. Tough to rely on that in the playoffs, as we well know here on this channel. Hey, Austin Matthews, holy smokes. Ridiculous. I remember it wasn't too long ago, right? It was a couple summers ago. You, me, and KD, we got on here looking for content. One of our topics. Here's a picture of this. What was it? Episode 72. Is Austin Matthews the greatest Leaf of all time? We debated this. Well, here's the thing. Not much of a debate anymore. It's becoming less and less of an argument.
Sure.
Here's a couple stats here. I'll flash up. So his 72nd career multi-goal game beats friend of the podcast, Daryl Sittler. In that case, look at the murderer's row of Leafs on here.
Yeah.
Sittler, Vive, Matt Sundin, my dad's favorite player, Dave Keon. That's fantastic. And then
all captains except for Austin, eh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Very few of these guys had like plastic blade holders. Remember the metal pegs that went down? But look, widely regarded as the best Leaf in kind of the modern era, right?
Yeah,
80s
sure.
and beyond, is Matt
Mhm.
Sundin. And he holds the record for goals. So take a look at this. Matthews is 76 away, which for him is becoming just about one season.
Yeah.
And he's played 449 less games.
That's unbelievable.
Stacking them up, Devo.
Yeah, that stat alone, I had to read it 2 or 3 times, and start doing some of the sums on that. That's a lot of seasons, 449 games.
Yeah,
and as you rightfully put out, Matthews is not done scoring this year, so it's very realistic that he could pot another 15 this year, which makes this 60 away. That's a season for Matthews.
It is.
So he could
right.
He could do it
next March. He could be the highest scoring Leaf ever. It's crazy.
It's insane.
I had him at preseason. I said he gets 63. I think I'm low. He
might be low.
For what, 70, 71 now? It's crazy.
Yeah.
5 hat tricks this year.
The thing is, whenever he starts to kind of, maybe 70's a bridge too far. 60 will be good enough, and then all of a sudden there's another hat trick, and it's like, oh my goodness, like it is magical. It's quite a thing. And to your point, the Leafs, had Matthew been sick against the Flyers, the Leafs fans would be screaming about being out efforted, which is what they were anyways, and another loss to a terrible team, and Matthew scores 3 in a period. I mean, a natural hat trick, unbelievable, really quite an amazing thing. All right, there's something I want to bring up here, Coach. This one kind of took me a bit by surprise. I know that we're throwing some stats up on the screens here. Obviously, when you watch them play, and we've been seeing a larger role for players like Benoit in the second half of the season with injuries and taking on a bigger role, and the suspension of Riley, obviously, of late. He certainly is a physical guy, and that's been coming on more and more as the season gets on and as he becomes more comfortable being a pro. That's certainly McCabe's game. He likes to throw it around, whether it takes him out of position or not. He likes to throw it around. But this one took me by surprise because it's not something we've seen at all in the Matthews era. The Leafs are top 5 in the league at hits per game. I don't know if this is something we can call a change of identity. You don't necessarily see it every night. They were throwing it around against Philly. No question. And I guess you have really seen it in the last few weeks. This could maybe pay dividends in the postseason when it kind of matters most. I'm not so sure. But what do you think about this? Is this just funny little stats creeping in, and maybe it's much ado about nothing, or has this team changed a little bit?
Yeah, I think part of that you were going to talk about Nylander, right?
For sure. Yep.
He's actually been battling. Could you believe that? We were going to say that a couple years ago.
Yep.
And it harkens me back to a time where I may have had a rant about Nylander. Was that episode 62? Let me think back. And I'll leave you with one other thing, guys. Nylander is almost dead to me. Watching that in person, the eye test, he does not care. He stops on pucks all the time. Yeah, he had 2 goals in garbage time, but I'm telling you, the only way he's not fully dead to me is that he's got a chance to do something in these last 3 games of consequence. So like Magic Max here said, or Miracle Max in The Princess Bride, he's only mostly dead right now, okay? So when he's all dead, the only thing you do is go through his pockets looking for loose change. This guy here, Johnny Hockey, seen here, worried about going into the corner and getting into a battle, so he puts on the brakes. He thinks Nylander is soft. Look, you got Tavares grinding, you got Kerfoot and Blackwell, little guys grinding. Marner, Matthews, they're all grinding. Mikheyev, Engvall, they're in there, and Nylander is stopping on pucks. Here's what he has to do to win me back. Just fight through one fucking check in the next 3 games. Fight through one check. I mean, my goodness, he's getting paid, what, 8, 7, 8? Do something. So, look, you got to understand. Carbuzzi, Nick, and I had gone to that game before, and the Leafs got blown out 7-3. I was pretty mad. But it was legendary how much he didn't care, Nylander, right? About fighting for pucks, also about getting back. So he's on it. And yeah, I think there is some overall attitude too. Certainly Benoit has been good. Like he I think, is maximizing what he can bring. He's not a puck-moving defenseman.
No.
But, hey, he takes his man. I mean, there's something to be said for that.
100%.
I think you hit on it, Devo. Jake McCabe has been really good this year after he came back from injury. One of the most important guys on the team. He's been, and let's not forget, he's playing his offside, which he hadn't really done much of at all as a pro.
No. Now, he did it a lot in Chicago. But and that's what made him. I remember last year at the trade deadline when we brought him in, that the two things that sort of shone about him was he had a plus, considering he was playing for the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And he had played a few weeks leading up to the deadline on his off wing, so there was, a notion that, this gives you some flexibility.
Yeah, he's been legitimately good. And when Riley's out here, he's on the number 1 power play unit too. Another thing that he has not done much as a pro, he's taking it on. So that's good.
Yeah.
So to answer your question overall about physicality, yes, of course it's better. They've been legendarily soft in previous years.
Yep.
It seems like it's not the case here. But I would just say this. And should that translate into a tougher brand of team, maybe a tougher out in the playoffs? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, soft is not good in the playoffs. So, yes, maybe. But 2 caveats here. Number 1, most of the time, the teams that are up near the top in hits are teams that don't have the puck a lot. That stands to reason. And you pointed out multiple times, Devo, Leafs don't have the puck near as much this year as they have in previous years. We think, and just common sense would say, that's not as good as having it. But having it has won us 1 series since I can remember. So, and Tavares banked it in off his skate. We went crazy for 2 days. So, so maybe that's not so bad. And then the second thing is, look, it might have us play a tougher brand of hockey in the playoffs, and that's good for all the reasons we talked about. Someone else still has to score because the other team's playing tough too. And you can't count on hat tricks from Matthews all the time.
Yeah, no, it's true. Absolutely true. And maybe this talk about Benoit and McCabe is a great opportunity for us to maybe segue into another piece of news that's really a hot topic. The Morgan Riley suspension. We haven't really talked about that here on the Zone. Obviously, it's the talk of the town, other than maybe Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl. But let's just get right to it. What do you think? 5 games for Riley. What do you think?
Hey, my condolences about your Niners.
Yeah, it's
Super Bowl. That's a tough one.
It's tough.
Why do you take the ball to start over? Never mind. I'm not going to dig in. Okay, so 5 games. Could you imagine Don Cherry? 5 games. I'm not Don Cherry. Might be just as old. But look, it's a joke. What a joke that is. It's 5. That's 5 games, and this one here, Jacob Trouba swinging his stick, hitting a guy in the head, is a $5,000 fine. And then remember this from a couple of years ago? Have a cross-check into a cross-check where the guy breaks his stick on Wayne Simmons' head.
Yeah.
No suspension. So it's wildly inconsistent, Devo. It really is. Couple articles actually saying that because it was talked about so much in Toronto and there's a lot of media, that it maybe influenced them to not appear to be soft because it's being talked about, and it was harder. I don't know. But no, I think it's too much. So as you were saying when we were getting ready here, we were going back and forth. Both things can be true, right? He should have done that, and he should have been suspended.
Yeah.
I just think 5 games too much. So the appeal happened a couple of hours ago. It usually takes Bettman 1, 2, maybe 3 days to rule.
Mm-hmm.
The precedent is actually it's good and not good. Most of the time, he upholds a suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Recent memory, though, remember Jason Spezza went and need that guy Neil Pionk, and then he got it reduced, I think, from 6 to 4, and it was he's been a player for a long time and been clean. He's got a good record. He's a good citizen in the league, that kind of stuff, and out of character, blah blah blah. Like all that applies to Riley too. I think it's going to get knocked down to 4, and
Me too.
I think that's probably where it should have been.
Yeah, when it happened, Coach, you recall we were texting, and we were. I think you said hit the nail on the head when you said two things can be true at once. Both of us liked what he did. Both of us knew he deserved to be suspended. So I just want the subscribers to know. I expected someone to do something, and no one else did anything. So Morgan Riley did something. He got his stick up, and it happened after the penalty. It was retaliatory. Again, I think he should have done it. There is a code. But he's got to pay the piper. And I said at the time that it's probably 3 to 5 is the sweet spot. And when we heard there was going to be an in-person interview, usually that's reserved for above 5 games, and both of us were like, that's bullshit. And Morgan Riley thought so too, because he didn't go. He ended up getting 5. I think you're right. I think they'll bring it down to 4. It means, though, that if that actually happens, we will have examples of 3 appeals, I think, in the last couple of years, that where they've changed the ruling, and 2 of them have been Leafs. So it does add some fodder to the fact that maybe George Paros and his team might be a little bit bitter about having their face mopped up the ice.
Hey, did you hear Keefe's comments the day after?
Yeah, I actually liked them.
About, like he alluded strongly to how Paros had his career ended by Colton Orr, who was a Leaf at the time.
Yes.
I thought that was like just thinly veiled. It was pretty strong.
It was, and I wouldn't be. I was surprised there wasn't a call for that.
Yeah,
and the fact that there wasn't also leads me to believe that people kind of know that he's just saying the part that everyone thinks, including at the league. So I'm with you. I think it gets knocked down to 4. I think the league looks a little bit stupid. I think the league realizes that maybe. They have some work to do. Even the on the ice stuff. Let's be honest. This isn't just a Leafs fan whining here. I remember a few years ago when people were going on and on that no one's calling enough penalties for Connor McDavid because he's always got the puck and everyone's hauling him down and stuff like that. And within a week, he became the number 1 guy drawing penalties. Does Matthews ever get in the top 15 at drawing penalties? Is he ever in the top 25?
Bunting was always way ahead of him, yeah.
Bunting was.
So you're right, Devo. This isn't just Leaf fans whining on here. Make no mistake, it is Leaf fans whining on here, but it's not just Leaf fans whining on here. There's some logic here too, folks. Yeah. And as strong as Keefe's comments were, the opposite is true of Mitch Marner's response. Did you see him saunter in after that?
Gosh. And looking at his feet? Holy smokes. He should have just got off the ice.
I don't have to pair up with anybody, right? Fellas, can't we all just get along?
Honestly, if he had the ability to be a chameleon, he would have turned into black and white stripes if he could have. Oh my goodness. Okay. $1 million question here. I'm gonna figure out how to word this appropriately. So the Leafs have shown in the last couple games and throughout a certain amount of time this season, actually, when they've been facing injuries, that they can face adversity head on and pull out some wins. Matthews playing on a record pace. The help is on the way for the crease. Wall is skating. The team is playing more physical, as we just brought up before. Could this team heat up and go on a run, particularly if maybe the team figures out a way to scribble around the cap and add one or two pieces to shore up the back end? If it's possible, will Brad actually do something for this team and make them a contender for a cup run here?
Boy, I sure hope so. I like what Carlo Koliakovo said today. Anytime you have Austin Matthews on your team, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
He can get hot. We've seen this all year. He's a little bit streaky in the last couple playoffs, but it's still open. There's no Boston that's way out ahead of everybody, and we know how that worked out for Boston last year.
Yeah.
So every team has flaws. So if you're asking me this team as currently constructed, if they can get on a run, I don't think they'll. I think there's too many flaws. I think, there's not much at all in the bottom six and the D. Like if the D gets through this stretch without Riley, okay, that is terrific. Remember we saw that last year too when he was hurt.
Yep.
But it's not sustainable, not in the playoffs. And you're counting on guys like Gio, who was exposed last year. Even McCabe was.
Yeah.
But I think with a couple of key acquisitions, yes, this team has as good a chance as any of getting on a run. And perhaps coming third isn't so bad. As long as you get it going and you're playing and you're getting hot. Yeah, you're going up, and when you go into the playoffs, look at Florida for goodness sake. So I do. I'm cautiously optimistic. I also think the other side of the coin for Treliving is he's going to hear about it, man. Like we are passionate, and if he does nothing, he's not going to enjoy that. Who knows what the guy upstairs is telling him? That guy
I don't even know
his face.
No idea what city he's in. For all I know, he's, who knows? I don't even know what Shanahan looks like. I mean, does he still have a goatee? Or I don't know. Who knows what? Maybe he's gray hair.
He comes out looking like Cliff Fletcher now. It's like, ooh, that guy's aged.
I wish he looked like Cliff Fletcher. Well, before we go, I agree with you. Here's an interesting bit of tidbit. Leafs have a first-round pick next year. I don't think Florida does, and I don't think Boston does. Leafs do have bullets in the chamber to make a move. The problem is, and this, like, for the fans, you really got to figure this out. When you look at Cap Friendly, it's the easiest place to go to. Just look at the Toronto Maple Leafs on Cap Friendly. This is how much cap room they have. 0. Not a nickel, not a dime. 0. So the amount of wiggle room is nothing. So you can give futures, heap in a lot of futures, but you got to heap in twice as many futures because you're going to need to have a team either eat cap or take your unwanted assets. And it has to be unwanted assets because
both have to be true.
Both have to be true.
They can't retain 100%. Money's got to go out to bring money in. Yeah.
Now, neither Boston or Florida has a ton of room, but I think one of them has about $2 million. One of them has about $750,000. It's not much, but that wiggle room is something. The Leafs have 0. They don't have one nickel of cap room. So it means that Treliving is going to have to really roll up his sleeves here. And if he's going to do anything, he's got to pay twice as much for it. So that's what the fans have to recognize. He's not going to look like a smooth operator. He's going to give up a lot if he's going to get anything back.
Was that Chardet? Operator? Yeah.
You got it. Coast to coast. All right, folks. There you have it. Everything you need to know about the Leafs. We got you covered right here on the OZone.